Squatting Slav TV.
Over the years, Tommy Robinson, whose real name is Yaxley Lennon, has played a vital role in bringing to light the disastrous effects of Islamization in the UK and the inaction of the British government to contain the radicalization of Islam on its own soil. Before I begin to justify the title of this video, and before I get called out for infighting, I want to make it very clear that I've always liked Tommy Robinson for the character that he is, and I do respect his ability to ruse thousands of young patriots and engage them in politics. That being said, however, I also can't deny that Tommy is a malignantly narcissistic individual, an Islamic provocateur and conman whose thirst for money and fame have him pulling attention-seeking publicity stunts left, right and center. On top of all this, Tommy's very obvious shilling for Zio interests and constant counter-signaling towards nationalists have come to expose him as a major gatekeeper in the patriotic movement.
I notice you're wearing a shirt or a button that says I'm a Zionist.
As you've probably seen by now, Tommy Robinson made international headlines for the third time this year after he was accused of promoting anti-Muslim hatred within the British Armed Forces. Last Tuesday, Tommy posted a photo of himself surrounded by young grinning British cadets, or possibly soldiers, onto his Facebook, along with a video in which he stated that a moment like this makes it all worth the while. Today I met real British heroes. Although these posts were completely harmless in nature, Tommy was immediately attacked by the UK government's counter-extremism tsar, Sarah Khan, who accused him of divisive anti-Muslim hatred. According to Khan, far-right ideology is completely at odds with the ethos and values of the armed forces, and those exhibiting extremism are neither tolerated nor permitted to serve. The entire ordeal resulted in mass political chaos and finger-pointing, and the soldier pictured with Tommy has since been filed for discharge from the armed forces. 1 month before this fiasco, several British soldiers also made national headlines after they were arrested for alleged neo-Nazi ties, and the British media set a clear precedent that any form of extremism in the armed forces is forbidden and punishable by law. With this in mind, one can only wonder why Tommy Robinson would potentially risk getting a soldier discharged from the armed forces for the sake of a few patriotic Facebook posts, unless of course he had ulterior motives and bigger plans. To assume that Tommy simply wasn't aware of the armed forces' zero tolerance on extremism is naive, and it's much more likely that he knew well ahead of time that posting this material on Facebook would elicit backlash and spark controversy from the establishment and mainstream media. Just as we've seen him do many times in the past, Tommy most likely pulled a stunt to put the spotlight on himself in hopes that the controversy would lead to more attention and ultimately more money. As predicted, Tommy has already set up a petition against the discharge of the soldier in the photo, and I think it's safe to say that this will lead to yet another bogus donation campaign as the matter intensifies.
We are on over 100.
As you may recall, Tommy made headlines earlier this year as well, after he was arrested and charged for contempt of court for publishing a Facebook Live video of defendants walking into a law court, contrary to a court order preventing reporting on those trials and ongoing proceedings. At this time, Tommy was already serving a 3-month suspended sentence, and he knew well ahead of time that filming the trials would breach the previous sentence and land him in hot water. Following his arrest, countless mass petitions and donation campaigns sprung up, painting Tommy as a martyr who sacrificed his freedom for the sake of exposing a Muslim grooming gang trial. These shekel-grabbing campaigns were pushed primarily by his former Jewish employers at Rebel Media and many other conservative pundits who just wanted to raise money for legal fees and keep poor family guy Tommy out of jail. If you still think that Tommy is innocent, you may want to take into account that he was jailed for mortgage fraud back in 2014 and that he even tried to enter the US on a fake passport back in 2013, kind of like the very Islamic terrorists that he so greatly despises. On top of his publicity stunts, it's become blatantly obvious over the years that Tommy specializes in being a Muslim provocateur and Zio gatekeeper who is paid to bash Islam in Europe and quell white identity politics while diverting our attention off other influential groups who don't necessarily have Europe's best interest at heart.
Out of all the groups, the most important one by a mile was the English Defence League, British Freedom Party. That was a serious, systematic, hugely funded effort by a section of the ruling elite by this Zionist neocon clique to dominate, to simply take over nationalism and turn it into their tool to encourage the white working class to go and fight their wars.
Tommy, who was once a proud nationalist and member of the EDL, harshly condemned the protests in Charlottesville last year and counter-signaled by slandering American patriots and labeling the attendees of the protest as evil Nazis. This comes as no surprise, however, considering that Tommy was working for the Jewish news network Rebel Media at the time of Charlottesville, which showed us its zero-tolerance policy towards those meddling in white identity politics after they fired Faith Goldy simply for being on a Daily Stormer podcast. Rebel Media was also a perfect fit for Tommy because it was well known for employing other Muslim provocateurs and attention whores, such as Laura Loomer, who specialize in fabricating scandals all for the sake of profiting off of them through more bogus donation campaigns.
Why are you guys such bigots? You're so hateful. You guys are advocating for Sharia and jihad in here.
As we speak, Tommy Robinson is visiting Australia, and I wouldn't be surprised if he attempts to stir up controversy and chaos in a Muslim neighborhood so that he can ask for more money yet again. Although Tommy Robinson has done a great job in exposing the dangers of Islam in Europe and engaging young patriots, his narcissism and constant need to be in the spotlight have revealed a desperately opportunistic side of him. Tommy Robinson, who has a lengthy history of fraud, is coming to be exposed as nothing more than a paid-off gatekeeper who poses as a martyr of the counterculture in order to get rich. For Tommy Robinson, sparking up controversy and reaping the benefits of the chaos that ensues is a way of life, and you can bet that many more bogus petitions, legal fees, and donation campaigns are coming our way in the near future.
We were offered money from the United States, and all they wanted was two things. They only wanted us to concentrate on Islam, and I yield to no one in my criticism of Islam and grooming. I put my neck on the line. Many of you have put your neck on the line as well. But it's not the only problem. And they wanted us only to focus on that, and it only came with one other thing. They wanted us to drop our criticism of the banking system. Those were the only two things. We had to concentrate on talking about Muslims, and we had to drop our criticism of the international banking system.